ただいま近くにおりません。
Hello foolish mortals, and welcome to another custom repaint tutorial. Today is a very special video indeed. This lucky little Howleen wolf is gonna be transformed into something tropical. I'm participating in Dollightful's mega collaboration, which I was super stoked to hear about. I love anything tropical or island themed, and this collaboration was just calling my name. I couldn't help it, of course. I have native Hawaiian blood coursing through my veins, and this theme was really my chance to showcase that. Let's begin by prepping the doll. To start, we remove the factory makeup. Using 100% pure acetone, a Q-tip, and a cotton pad, we can easily swipe off that factory paint. The acetone also removes any dirt or grime that may have accumulated on the face or neck. Then wash the face with warm soapy water. Next, we're moving on to trimming all this hair. I secure the hair with rubber bands and personally like to save it. It may come in handy for a rainy day. Using the teeniest scissors I own, I cut slowly and as close to the scalp as I can get. You may have noticed that the hair was previously very dirty and ratted. A quick fix for this is to use fabric softener as a conditioner to detangle and clean the hair. After cutting off this little ponytail, I repeat this process 3 more times. Once all the hair is trimmed down, I take a screwdriver and scrape the edges of the scalp to remove all those little tiny nubs. The plugs in this doll were really glued down tight. By the end, my hand was intensely cramping. As cute as her little ears are, they unfortunately don't fit the character I'm creating, so they gotta come off. Here, I'm using an X-Acto knife and carefully trimming away at the ear. It's really a shame. This is the second Howleen wolf I've ever customized, and both times I've cried on the inside about having to hack those ears away. They're just too dang cute! When we're done taking the ears off, I make a cut in the back of the doll's head. This is so I have easy access to taking out all that leftover junk in there. And trust me, there's gonna be a lot of junk in there. So taking either some tweezers or some pliers, we pull out all the leftover glue and plugs. Monster High dolls have some big ol' heads, so there's gonna be a pretty excessive amount of gunk stored in there. Clearing out the head is extremely relieving for me. It's just a great feeling knowing that I have a fresh, clean base to work with. Once all the glue is removed, we can seal the head up again. To do that, I just dab on a bit of super glue, and it's so strong that the head stays closed up. Be careful not to get any super glue on your fingers. It leaves a very strange, dry feeling on your fingertips, and you'll be stuck like that all day. Just trust me on this one. After we seal the doll with Mr. Super Clear, or any type of sealant, we can begin working on the face. I almost always start off with a base layer for the eyes. Doing this helps guide me with the expression and the eye shape to help map out my placement. For the whites of her eyes, I use a very pigmented watercolor pencil, and I definitely recommend. It's by the brand Prismacolor, and it's so pigmented I don't even have to wet the pencil. From here, I start to build up the white to act as a highlighting color. I line the inner corner of both the waterline and the eyelid. This helps to add a tiny touch of realism and makes the eyes really stand out. Oh, and as for her expression, I wanted to try and give her a winking look. Since she's going to be tropical themed, I wanted it to look as if the sun's in her eyes, but also like she's calm and just happy to be where she is. Her expression was extremely experimental, and I was so scared I couldn't portray what I thought in my head. But in the end, I think she came out really close to what I was imagining. I added a bit of red under her waterline as well, and then I added a ton of red in a bunch of places. I didn't initially mean for it to happen, but it helped make her look a bit sunburnt, and I thought it was adorable. Before I seal this layer, I make sure all the colors I want to build up are in place. After that layer is sealed, I try to amplify the colors on her eyelids even more with a black watercolor pencil. Then from there, I begin to build up her pupil. I want her eyes to be a dark shade of brown, so from here I draw a bit heavy-handed. Once it's as even as I like, I completely shade in her pupil. Using the same dark brown watercolor pencil I used to draw in her pupil, I color in her eye. From here, her face is really starting to look lifelike. Then, taking a black watercolor pencil, I shade in the pupil even more to add some depth. So far, I'm loving how her eyes are turning out. Well, one eye, I guess. I've kind of been neglecting the other one at this point. Then, just using a paintbrush and some white acrylic paint, I add in a very simple eye shine. Next, we're moving on to drawing her eyelashes. I go straight in with a black watercolor pencil and draw her lashes downward. Drawing the lashes down gives them more of an uncurled and natural look. I try my best to mimic what real people's eyelashes look like, so I purposely make them different lengths and facing different directions. Now it's time to move on to the other eye, cause ya girl needs some attention too. I first darken her eyeline and draw in her lashes with a black pencil as well. On this eye, I make her eyelashes a little more long and fluffy looking. Since this eye is closed, the eyelashes should look just a little bit more thicker. Then using a white again, I reapply her highlight. It's time to move on to some brows. I wasn't quite sure how I wanted to shape her eyebrows, but I did know I wanted them to look somewhat natural. I really just wanted to give her an overall completely natural look. I lean towards more of a less is more kind of person. With a really sharp pencil, I draw really thin strokes to mimic the look of tiny eyebrow hairs. Then, taking an eraser, I just erase part of her eyebrow to make it look like she's rocking a cool scar or something. I don't know, but I just thought it was cute. Finally, it's time to blush her. I typically save blushing for last. Not for any particular reason. Sometimes I just forget that I need to focus on something else other than the eyes. I use a Q-tip and red soft pastels in places like her cheeks, lips, nose, and forehead. I think it's so cool how just the tiniest amount of blushing can make such a big difference. It's like going from flat to 3D in just a few seconds. It's not shown here at the moment, but I do end up blushing her forehead. Oh, and drawing her other eyebrow as well. Then I start to work on her lips. I don't really do anything fancy here. I just fill in the gaps and draw random lines until they look somewhat like lips. Now for the fun part. Using a very light hand and a brown watercolor pencil, I draw in some super cute freckles. I'm all about a mixture of realism and cartoony, and I think adding freckles or sunspots helped achieve the effect I was going for. I also wanted to give her some darker moles or freckles too. I thought it'd be cute to place one by her lower lip and underneath her left eye. After a final coat of sealant and a layer of high gloss varnish for her lips, her face-up is complete. Let's start working on her hair. I wanted her to have big, untamed curly hair. I glued wefts of dark brown synthetic hair and just placed them directly onto her head. The curls were a bit tricky to make, since the synthetic hair was initially straight when I created the wefts. So to create these beachy waves, I first glued the hair to create the wefts, and once the wefts were dry, I stacked them on top of each other and pinned them in place, and braided them into a normal French braid. I tied the braid off and heat set the braid with my hair straightener on a medium setting. I let the braids cool off and took them out of the braid. And voila! Beachy curls. I hope this explanation somewhat makes sense. I may just make a mini tutorial on my Instagram for those interested. I would have included that process here, but for time's sake, I figured a more detailed explanation should be in order in a separate tutorial. Anyway, I just glued down the wefts around the head until I reached the top. And by the end here, it looks so poofy and voluminous. I love it! To make the hair even more floofy, we have to separate some of the curls here. To do that, just grab sections of the hair and rip them apart until the hair's curls look even more natural rather than artificial. Once her hair is to our liking, we can attach her head back onto her body, and she's complete. I made her outfit off camera, but it was super simple and I didn't want to take up too much of your time. I pulled her hair back into a cute ponytail as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and how this custom turned out. And a huge thank you to Dollightful for putting together such a wonderful collaboration. This community is so supportive and uplifting of each other, and I'm so glad to be a part of it. Anyway, here's my tropical themed island girl. I've decided to name her Mahealani, which means heavenly moon in Hawaiian. I loved seeing all your wonderful creations on Instagram, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Don't forget to boop that subscribe and like button. Bye for now.
I'm coming out.